All right, welcome everybody. Hope everybody can hear me. I see my camera is frozen. Let me just activate that. All right, we looks like we are back. Welcome aboard. Oops. There we go. Welcome everybody to the Game Over post game show. My name is Anand, your host Anand. Apologies for the technical difficulties. I was just trying a few things and looks like we are back. If you can hear me, welcome aboard. Thanks for joining us. I see KQ in the chat already. KQ, welcome aboard. We are talking about a massive 5-1 win for the Calgary Flames at home, especially after Nazem Kadri's 1000 NHL game. We'll talk about that shortly, how Nazem Kadri has been also important for the Flames. We can talk about Zayne Parekh's healthy scratch. We can talk that the Flames are now past 15 games in the NHL season. We'll talk about realistic expectations, what we have liked, what I haven't liked. And you can all share your opinion right in the YouTube chat. That's why that's open right now as we go through along. So we'll start with, as always, a goal scoring summary. We'll check in how the game went. A massive 5-1 win for the Calgary Flames. Of course, on a special night where Nazem Kadri celebrates his 1000th NHL game and scores as well. We'll talk about his goal in just a moment. But his goal comes the only second Calgary Flame to score in a 1000 NHL game, and the last one who did it was Martin Jelinas in 2003, where he scored a game in his goal in his 1000 game. So I'm in a happy mood. The Flames won. We'll see how they reach the standings tonight after the win. We'll check on that shortly in just a moment's time. But if you're live here on the YouTube front, like KQ, feel free to comment, share, like, subscribe, share it with your friends as well if they are willing to watch a post-game show live. But Morgan Frost opens the scoring, assisted by Jonathan Huberdeau and Matt Coronato. Matt Coronato, who hasn't had a great start to the season, gets an assist in at the 56-second mark. So right after the game started, 56 seconds in, Morgan Frost opens the scoring for the Calgary Flames. Of course, you know the Calgary Flames want to celebrate it off a huge win, and they do. They keep the Columbus Blue Jackets off of the scoreboard all too heavily, and they come up with this victory. 56 first goal with 56 seconds in. Shortly after, which I thought I was seeing a dream game altogether, Blake Coleman makes it 2-0. What a shot! And then that beats the goaltender, assisted by Hanley and Honzak at the 132-minute mark. And that was amazing too. Honzak gets his assist as well. Joel Hanley, who was amazing for the first goal as well. They have been creating offensively those two goals, 2-0 at the 132-minute mark. So about a minute in and a few seconds after the first goal. Then it was Marchenko, assisted by Jenner on a short-handed at the 6:57-minute mark, where I believe a miscommunication between Rasmus Anderson and Connor Zary. I don't know who to blame on exactly on that play. Marchenko was able to solve Dustin Wolf, and they get past to that when the Columbus Blue Jacket gets to start some momentum. And that's about it that the Columbus Blue Jackets would do, as they only end up scoring one goal in this entire 60-minute affair. It will be rest the Calgary Flames. We'll talk about, though, it wasn't a whole 60-minute effort. The second period looked like the Columbus Blue Jackets were fighting back. But then, in the second period, 3-1, as you guessed it, as you may know, Nazem Kadri in his 1000th NHL game gets a goal assisted by Rasmus Anderson and Joel Farabee. What a pass from Joel Farabee to Nazem Kadri. And he shot it top shelf and got the goal. So the Flames lead 3-1 in that opportunity. Nice real play by Nazem Kadri. And then shortly after, like they did in the first period, they score again about 30 or 35 seconds later, and that's Adam Klapka, assisted by Yan Kuznetsov in his season debut. Just the primary assist gets on that play, and Yan Kuznetsov, who had some struggling looks today, but got on that assist for Adam Klapka. He shoots it as well, beats the starting goaltender for the Columbus Blue Jackets, and finds the right wing shot, and that's 8:24 in the second period. There would be no scoring after that in the second period. And then in the third period, empty net by Michael Backlund. Empty net unassisted to seal the deal. So Dustin Wolf was peppered with shots all throughout long. I told you the Columbus Blue Jackets were fighting in the second period to come back, and they absolutely did. Dustin Wolf ends up stopping 42 of the 43 shots he faced with a .977 save percentage. So Dustin Wolf starting to become like himself, not like the early struggles we saw in the season. And Jed Greaves was able to stop 21 out of the 25 shots he faced with a .840 save percentage. So shots on goal, 43 for 26 in favor of the 43 for the Columbus Blue Jackets. So they outshot the Calgary Flames, but the Flames come up with a victory. And the three-star Sam Honzek, 15 minutes of ice time, +2, and 1 assist. Third star Sam Honzek. Second star Dustin Wolf with a .977 save percentage. And the first star, of course, the player who scored his 1000th goal, 1000th NHL game, who scored 20 minutes of ice time, 1 goal, and a +1. So that is your scoring summary. And they improved to 4-9-2 with that win. Let's talk about some moments of Nazem Kadri. Let me know if you have any memorable moments from when Nazem Kadri is a Flame. I'll start with a few I went and watched back on YouTube, especially because I wasn't as part of the Flames fan as early as he joined the team. His first goal came from the contest of a Battle of Alberta against the Edmonton Oilers. Then he scored a massive goal against Pittsburgh Penguins, beating Tristan Jarry. Then he scored a wonderful spinorama goal last year. And then an overtime massive goal for Seattle Kraken Nazem Kadri. So at least 4 important goals we can talk about, which has been amazing as a player. And I think his contract has been solidified. He has been so great for the team. And he continues to have an amazing performance this season as well. I would say about Huberdeau, Kadri, now Frost, Farabee, starting to all gel together back. They've been giving for the Flames. Now Nazem Kadri's future will start boiling around. There is rumors, does he get traded? One of the main candidates is Montreal Canadiens. Is that a destination for him? I know there was a report just sent out yesterday that Carolina Hurricanes is on his no-trade list, which I totally understand. I've been hearing thoughts about geopolitical situations that he may not want to leave in Carolina. But what about like a Montreal Canadiens team? They seem to do well with Ivan Demidov, Suzuki. Maybe they could add one more piece to continue their player push. Kadri, of course, have Stanley Cup championships, so maybe they could use that experience. But I won't deep dive into this too much. Let's celebrate all what greatness, what Kadri has done for us as a member of the Calgary Flame. and then maybe we'll restart the conversation about trades coming up, probably for the Saturday game. Or, today's Wednesday and they play again on Friday, I believe. So we'll talk about then on Friday. But just want to keep in mind, does the Nazim Kadri trade situation, will the doors open now that the 1000 milestone is completed? That's my thoughts about Nazim Kadri. And this time as a Flame, let me know about your comments down in the YouTube chat. We'll take a look at it towards the end. But moving to the second period, shout out to our rest of the Game Over network as well. Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa. Go check them out. They're all across the YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcast from. Shout out to Conrad Krausert as well. Conrad, if you're listening in, hope you enjoyed the game. Massive 5-1 victory for the Calgary Flames. And moving to the second period, let's talk about perhaps Zayne Parekh's situation. Of course, you know Zayne Parekh. The Flames decided to keep him with the NHL big club, not going the route of sending him back to the OHL, so burning his contract. But they decided to scratch him again tonight, which I don't mind because they decided to scratch Bean as well. So Bean has been scratched for a second straight game. Zayne Parekh gets a reset of the scratch. The Flames do have a couple of tools at their disposal though, from what I've heard. They have the World Juniors route, which they can try for. Send him to the World Juniors, let him have fun for a couple of weeks, and the Flames can get him back. Is that a route that you would like to go? There is also possible for him to take a 2-week AHL conditioning stint, but he has to sit for 5 games consecutively. Is there a point sitting Parekh for 5 games consecutively? Is my thought process. You want the team to go in a younger direction. So don't you want to play the young guns? And I'm totally okay with Zayne Parekh if he makes his mistakes. I would rather watch him than a Bean or Hanley, who sometimes cost games. Zayne Parekh hasn't costed games, but the coach continues to scratch him. We don't know what the Flames' thought process is in doing that, but it will be an interesting one to keep an eye out for as the situation develops. But he can't directly play in the AHL, unfortunately. Hope the rule change comes in effect as soon as next year. AHL would be a great place for him to develop. Not saying the NHL is not the place for him either. But especially if you are so mind-boggling and making him sit for a handful of games, I think the best option is to just let him play. Let us play his game. Like, for example, I can name a few examples. Ben Kindle with the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's been tearing it up. He has a couple goals already. I think 5 goals with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Seneke with the Anaheim Ducks is one other example that somebody brought up. Especially the NHL becoming a faster game these days. I think it's important that you have young skaters on the ice. Those skaters that can enter the zone so effectively with speed. So I wonder what the reasoning is behind sitting Zayne Parekh. We don't have a clear idea which route their direction they're going forward. I say evaluate Zayne Parekh till the 40 game mark and then decide. But I don't think sitting Zayne Parekh for every game is the right option either. Every other game probably, but this is the first game of many. We'll take a check-in again soon where the coaching staff sit at to make sure the right decision is made. So that's my thoughts on Zayne Parekh. Play him whenever you can, especially at home games. That way you can control him to succeed. He will have the fan base support behind him. But if the coaching staff have another plan in mind, if they can make it a bit clear, because otherwise it's just going to get the frustration of fans like me. Why waste the development of a player who can play the game and learn and do it? Because practice makes each man perfect. I go by that motto always. Unless there is one specific reason, I don't see there a point sitting in Zayne Parekh. So let me know your thoughts in the chat below. We'll come back to it right in overtime here shortly. But let's do a third period check-in. It's a 15 game check-in. 82 minus 15. Doing a quick math right here. 67 more games to go for the Calgary Flames. We'll take a look at their schedule in just moments time. But I have a few questions to throw at you. I'll throw my answers back and let me know if you agree while you are watching live right here on YouTube. So 15 games done. Let's go through quickly the games they have won, the games they have lost, and how their schedule has gone so far. Then we shall talk about a few questions that I have. So we'll start with they opened the season with a win against the Battle of Alberta Flames versus Oilers by a score of 4-3. Then they lost a massive 1-5-1 in Vancouver. Then they lost against the St. Louis Blues by a score of 4-2. They lost against the Vegas Golden Knights at home by a score of 4-2. They lost against the Utah Mammoth by a score of 3-1. They lost a game against the Vegas Golden Knights yet once again by a score of 6-1. They lost a close one to the Winnipeg Jets by a score of 2-1. The Montreal Canadiens also by a score of 2-1 they lost. Then the Winnipeg Jets defeated them by a score of 5-3. And now the Rangers, that's when they win. They scored their first 5-goal game against 5-1. Then the Maple Leafs defeated them by a score of 4-3. Ottawa Senators by a score of 4-3 they defeated. The Nashville Predators defeated them by a score of 4-2. The Flames won against the Flyers by a score of 2-1. And then the Flames win against the Blue Jackets tonight by a score of 5-1. So they have opened a win streak, 2-game win streak. One against the Flyers on the road, one against the Blue Jackets at home. Next, they take on a winnable game Friday, November 7th against the Blackhawks. I'm guessing Conrad will be available to do that post-game show because I'll be in High River doing Flyers play-by-play. And then on Sunday, they take on the Minnesota Wild. Then on Tuesday, November 11th, they go every other day now again. St. Louis Blues. Then it's Thursday at home to the Sharks. And then Saturday, November 15th to the Jets at home. Then it's the Blackhawks on the road again. Then it's the Sabres, Dallas Stars, Vancouver Canucks, Tampa Bay Lightning, Florida Panthers, Carolina Hurricane to close out the month of November. a little bit more manageable schedule, I would say. So we might, like Conrad and I mentioned in the last post-game show, we might see a bit more of an entertaining November schedule. And we saw one game today, and that is to celebrate Nazim Kadri on a good note. But it will be an interesting month of November as well. We'll see what the Flames can achieve. Let's start with a few questions that I have to tackle around to close this one out. But get your chats going. This is your one final chance. What I've liked so far from the team, I think it's the individual efforts from some of the players, including Frost and Farabee. They have turned around their season. Pretty much loved that. They were kind of snake bitten from the Philadelphia Flyers trade, which I'll remember to my heart, because I was an intern at the Sportsnet 960 studio. I was working that day when the trade happened live. So that was a unique experience to watch. So kudos to Frost and Farabee. Nazim Kadri, congratulations on your 1000th NHL game. Thank you for all what you have done for the Flames. What needs improvement? I haven't quite liked the games of Coronado and Zary as of recently. Zary was going well, especially when he was at center. Then he got scratched for a game. Now he's back to the wing. I wish there is a way to put him back on the center position or center role. Hopefully that will get him going. Mac Coronado's that lethal shot hasn't been there as of recently. He's been rather quiet on the score sheet. I know he got an assist today, but quieter than what we have expected so far. Next thought, what should the Flames focus on? So right now they're at 4-9-2. Let's see if the standings got updated at all. So 4-9-2 and still they're at last in the NHL. So do you throw the towel on the season just yet? It's definitely an interesting conversation. Some will say it's closer to that NHL Thanksgiving time that you say quits to the season. And you are still 3 points behind the San Jose Sharks. 6 points deficit to the Edmonton Oilers. And 4 points to the Vancouver Canucks. So a bit of little achievable. But the Flames would need to go in a win streak again to turn around the season. But do majority of the Flames fans want that though? Especially after watching those early Vegas Golden Knights game or Vancouver Canucks. If you don't have that elite centerpiece or elite skater that can score some goals for you, which the Flames have struggled. This is their second game this season that they have only scored 4+ goals or even 3+ goals. Is that sustainable? We talked about lots during the last season. We'll find out. Another point that I would like to make, Devin Cooley. He has definitely earned more starts. I don't see the reason why you need to keep going Dustin Wolf each time. I know Dustin Wolf is your number one starter. But especially with that Dan Vladar tandem, they got equal amount of games. Can you give Devin Cooley a little bit more runway and leeway? I think you certainly can. Another point I would like to make, Matvey Graydon, Rory Kerins, keep them in the AHL for the time being. They have been tearing it up there. Especially when you have a big club that's struggling to score goals, you don't want to demotivate their scoring opportunity. As well, if there is no space, at least for the time being in the big club, you're already sitting like a Justin Kirkland. You're already sitting Zayne Parekh. Like, if there is no room, no need to bring them up. I know many fans want to see the youth injection, of course. But right now, I don't think there is space for all of them. So keep them going in the AHL club. And maybe when there is a trade or two that happens, the nearest one I can think about is Kadri. Does he hit the market? The inevitable Rasmus Anderson trade, does that happen soon? And then is Blake Coleman a candidate on the market for a trade as well? Lots to think about. I think that's a good way to wrap up our segments. If you missed the beginning of the show, we did a goal scoring summary. It was Morgan Frost, Blake Coleman, and then Marchenko on a shorthander for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Then Kadri gave their insurance goal, and then Klapka. For the second period, we talked about Zayne Parekh and his situation. He deserves to play as much as the games he would like, unless the coaching staff has some clear idea in mind which direction they want to go and use Zayne Parekh for. And then 15 game checking what we have liked, what I haven't liked, and the focus moving forward. Let's hit the chats one final last time. I just see the message from KQ. KQ, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. Once again, be sure to subscribe, like, share it with all your friends and family. We aim to bring you instant analysis of all the games that have happened, post-game show. Conrad will most likely have the next one for you right here on Game Over Calgary. And then I hope to be back on Sunday, November 9th, or even Tuesday, November 11th. We'll see whichever for my schedule works, and join the post-game show. Thank you all so much for watching this episode. If you missed parts of it, I'll be certainly uploading this on our podcast feed, so check it out later. But have yourself a good night. Have yourself a great weekend ahead. You've been watching Game Over Calgary with your host Anand, as the Flames defeat the Columbus Blue Jackets by a score of 5-1. Take care and have a good night.